it's almost like everybody everywhere is under so much pressure.
I don't like scaff tags. I don't get scaff tags. That signature does not tell you that that scaffold is safe for 7 days.
There are companies out that are very greedy. Rather than doing, say, inspections £100 each, rather than doing 3 a day, 4 a day, 5 a day, they want them to do 15 inspections a day. I've seen people getting chased by the police, jumping over fences.
So you do audits and inspections across the UK, and the first question a lot of people want to ask is, what do you see regularly? What's the biggest mistakes you see? Whether it's tube and fitting or system, I presume it's more tube and fitting. You're going to see more scaffolds, but I'm assuming, and I know it sounds horrible, but you're going to get more mistakes with tube and fitting and system because system doesn't allow it. So what's the common mistakes that scaffolders make, and what can they do to fix it?
If I quickly touch on the system, usually the only mistakes I tend to find are the little worms, the little pins not put in. If all the sleeves are in the same bay, it usually gets left out. Things like hacky staircases and that. Probably the biggest thing are toe bolts, either loose or they've been put in upside down, or they've been sort of stamped and wedged into place. I was on a job a little while ago. That work's done now, thank God. But it was Hacky's system rather than the staircases. And they didn't have enough kit to obviously finish the job, so they were putting in lots of tube and fitting, so lots of wooden toe boards. It just looked shit. It just looked poo, and there was lots of problems with it. So yeah, apart from that, system's pretty easy to get right, really. Tube and fitting, I've got to the stage where I can tell if a job is going to be not difficult, but time consuming for me to inspect. Literally, as I drive past to park my van up, you can kind of see from the street. I usually look at for advanced handrails, whether your scaffolder's safe zone handrails, whether they're in place. I'd say dead men on your, or dead men in general, with dead men on your stop ends. Usually they still do your little trick where you put your single up and upside down to try and pinch, or they'll do their toe board up at an angle, a stop end, and they'll just kick it round so it kind of wedges into the wood. I've done it. Handrails on. I mean, I've inspected a few jobs where they've still got the handrails on singles, but they've used dog bones, used ready lock transoms, which I don't think is too much of a massive issue. But there's still quite a few that don't go double and double for their stop ends. I think the biggest issues that I find are Aberdeens, structural transoms. A lot of the scaffolds I look at, they don't go in. How many times I say to the scaffold companies, got to put your Aberdeens in. Me as a minimum, I'd put them in I called it a node point, even though a node point is everywhere the doubles meet. Everywhere there's a brace, I put an Aberdeen in. Essentially, it's the same way with your tyres. They do the same sort of job. Tyres are also a massive problem, because the amount of companies that put the wrong tyre fixing into either, they'll put bullets. I've seen people, they put Hilti bullets and Hilti rings into brickwork, and it's like they're not designed for that. They're for concrete, they're for masonry, that's what they're there for, concrete. But yeah, so they're the biggest issues I find, and it's consistent. It's consistent on multiple different scaffolds, multiple different companies. It's them handful of problems that I find. Again, it's knowledge. It's knowledge that either isn't, that they may touch on it during the training, but it's not knowledge that's readily available, and it isn't passed down to the scaffolders. Or when the scaffolders are working, they're under pressure, or they just don't give a fuck. Like, it's like, I'll be all right, mate. Yeah, been doing this job 40 years, it's never come over. And it's like, yeah, if it does come over, you are the one to blame. You know, if someone dies, you know, I don't want to go to prison because I put a shit scaffold up. Same with me inspecting them now. I'm not going to prison, you know, because someone else put a shit scaffold up, you know. But yeah, they're the issues I find.
Yeah, I mean, in the UK, in case people don't know, it's the only real legal requirement for scaffolding is to have it inspected. It's every 7 days, or if anything changes. And it's seen as an earner by some companies. Just sign a tag, off you go.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't even know they're supposed to get a report, and everything's about the tag. Like, I'm saying it, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I don't like scaff tags. I don't get scaff tags. That signature does not tell you that that scaffold is safe for 7 days. If you're a site agent watching this, it does not tell you for 7 days there's nothing wrong with that scaffold. But they all think it. You know, like, and we both have the same analogy for the MOT. So in Britain, you have to have your car tested every year. It's called an MOT. On that day, that car will pass or fail. If it passes, it's valid for a year. It doesn't mean that 6 months later the tyres aren't bald. It doesn't mean that the exhaust's not fallen off. And yet we've sold, not us, people have sold this dream of a product called Scaff Tag, or whatever it's, you know, Safe Tag, whatever. Scaffolding plastic tags. No, I thought I might have one here, but I haven't. Yes, I have. And literally, it's a signature. It's not telling you particularly much about the inspection. It's not the report. It's just this: the hanging bit of plastic with very minimal details in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like what structure to be, what weight it is, a few remarks, who's inspected, who's built it, and a signature. And this little magic box is what everybody thinks keeps them safe.
Yeah.
That signature with a date on top. Or the modern electronic ones, the inspect ones, green and red, and it's been inspected. Yeah. But if you don't read the report, you won't know how bad or how good that scaffold is. You know, and the report is the legal bit. Mm-hmm. And again, like you say, if people are missing Aberdeens, etc., why? Why are people missing off the Aberdeens still? Because it's on the tickets. And if they've got a card, they should know. There's nothing to drum it into people that there's a right way to erect a scaffold, there's a wrong way, let's all do the right way. We've always done it this way, like you've said. I haven't got the time, mate. Oh, I've missed it, I'm sorry. That, to a certain point, gets annoying. And it's literally, you talk to maybe the same scaffolder 20 times over 2 years inspecting scaffolds or whatever, or on the same site. Mate, why can't you grasp it? It just frustrates me. And if the money's not there, that's a big problem. That's where I think the QSs run the sites, site agents, you know, companies, etc. It's the QS and it's the money and all that. And we don't want to pay for the scaffolding section. It's your legal requirement, not the scaffolder's legal requirement. But I want it for free. And scaffold companies are giving it away for free. And there's no legislation that says you must be... It says you've got to be trained pretty much, but it doesn't say you must have this qualification, this much experience, or this must be done by a scaffolder, which is another bit. Go back to our career progression. Mm-hmm. There's people just inspecting these scaffolds, site agents, etc., in-house training now, that's stopping scaffolders keeping going in their 50s and 60s, all that knowledge and skill, and they're not able to be scaffold inspectors because the site agent's doing it because it's cheap. That's not real safety.
And I'm moving closer towards next year. My plan is to do scaffold designs. But at the moment, I'm pushing further into doing scaffolding estimates. And the amount of people I've spoke to, I'm like, you know what, you're in such and such, the job's in such and such. I would personally allow £300 per inspection. And then, oh no, they want an inspection for nothing. And there's been times where it is literally come down to the point the company that's won the job is the one that's given the inspections away for free, which then has a further knock-on problem later on down the line, because a lot of companies, and they say no, that's not the case. It is. I'm not digging people. I'm just being honest. Is they will employ a supervisor, and to supplement their wages, say they're on £200 a day, £250 or whatever, they will have to do X amount of scaffold inspections a day. And X amount of scaffold inspections, there are companies out that are very greedy. Rather than doing, say, inspections £100 each, rather than doing 3 a day, 4 a day, 5 a day, if you want to take into account fuel, national insurance, their PAYE, blah, blah, blah. Nah, they want them to do 15 inspections a day, as well as sort the men out in the morning, make sure they've all got the right gear on the lorries, make sure they've got all the job sheets, so on and so forth. And then when they get back to the yard, if they get back too early, run down and tell them off, what you're doing back here at this time, and make sure they load the lorries up right for the next day and that. They've also got to go out and inspect 10, 15, 20 scaffolds a day, as well as potentially help price, go around and make the blokes, to not only supplement their wages, to actually become a little cash cow for the scaffold companies.
Yeah, revenue stream. Yeah.
So it has multiple knock-on problems. And again, like you said, it really irritates me. I go on site and my inspection report's very thorough. I've built it that way to protect myself, basically. It's very thorough. It might be 30 pages long. I've set it up so it takes me very little time to make a 30-page report. It's all pre-done and preset answers based on the experience of what I see on jobs and the issues that I find. And the first words will say, "Have you signed the tag?" And I'm like, yes. I mean, I think tags are fine. I've got no problem with tags if they're used in conjunction with the reports. And I'm like, yes. I'm like, but you understand that you need to look at the report. And they're like, oh, yeah. But you've signed the tag, haven't you? And I'm like, yeah, mate, I've signed the tag.
Yeah.
The scaffold's fine. All right. And they're like, oh, lovely. And I know they're busy. You see them tapping away and endless bombarded with emails and fucking inductions and going all day. But
yeah.
It's almost like everybody everywhere is under so much pressure to do not only their own job, but to do 2 other jobs to try and make sure that they're cost effective in what they do. And it's one thing that really irritates me, because I know somewhere along the line, whether they're the top bosses of these construction companies, somewhere along the line, someone is proper having it off. They are fucking smashing it to pieces. And it's like, look, just don't be so greedy. It's like that greed irritates me. I hate everyone's here to earn money, and the more money you earn, the better life you can have, and the nicer cars and all that sort of stuff. But greed it's got its claws in construction, and there's lots of people now walking around, very, very high ranking people in these construction companies, where they don't, and I'm going to upset people again, but they don't do a whole lot, and they're on big bonuses, and to justify their wages, down the line, it gets filtered down and down and down and down. Everyone else gets squeezed more and more and more and more and more and more and more. So you get down to the person on the ground is having to do 2 or 3 people's jobs. So that person up there, you could argue that it's always been that way, but it doesn't need to be. There are enough resources, money and whatever to go around, And I'm no communist or whatever, I understand capitalism is the foundation of Western civilization, but it's that greed, and all it does, it puts people under more pressure, and it adds to people's mental health issues. They drink more, they get into drugs, their families collapse, they kill themselves, all because people just have that in them just to take more. It's like, last year I got a bonus, 20 grand. I want 25 this year. I want 30. So somebody else has to pay for that with their own time, you know? And it's, again, it's, I just say it's the race to the bottom. It's the race to the bottom with wages, race to the bottom with costs, race to the bottom with training. It's, yeah, there's fundamental issues that are still, again, we could be all day talking about this sort of shit.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think money and lack of wanting to pay for things is a major problem in scaffolding and construction. You know, to be a site agent, I've seen site agents where they're doing loader inspections, scaffold inspections, running the program and 6 subbies. The people above them are bashing the subbies, you know, proper bashing to get the price down, We've got to earn 20% profit on this job. And then there'll be the same people that post once a year. We're amazing at mental health and we support all our staff and we're great. And by the way, next Tuesday, we're baking cakes for breast cancer. Mm-hmm. It's just disjointed.
Yeah.
You know, we've got this concept of social responsibility, but it's lip service half the time. It's not real. It's not real.
No.
It's a problem. It's a problem everywhere. I don't think it's just a UK problem, you know. I think that is a problem everywhere. And I don't think it's an easy fix. I just think, for me, as a scaffold person, when I'm doing inspections and audits, etc., the obsession with the scaff tag, go back to that, I don't get it. I'm never going to get it. I think if you're looking for 100% on a scaffold, unlucky. Because the easiest job in the world is to go inspect the scaffolding because you'll always find something. It's whether or not that's dangerous. Can it be easily fixed? Should I stop the job? That's where competency comes in. That's where it's needed. You're not going to convince me. I've seen people posting on LinkedIn, AI, we're going to scan the job soon and AI will tell you whether it's safe or not. Yeah, AI might be able to. You might get to that point. If that clip isn't on that tow board with the dead man in place, you can't kick it out, but there isn't a clip on it. AI says shut the job down and then you've got to go and put it. How much money would you lose there? So you still need people to be competent. You still need skills. You still need people. AI can't fix everything in construction. I think that's great because AI is taking over other people's jobs. You know, maybe AI could take over the QS job. That might be a bonus. And then, like, no QSs, it might be a bit easier because they are the enemy as far as, you know, I've said it before, put it out there on posts. Until someone can say to me, a QS that's been fully trained in health and safety, I don't understand. They don't grasp that it's a legal requirement just for the scaffold inspection. So what else are they not grasping? Like Lola crane inspections, you know, like it's just save money. This quote's brilliant. I never looked at the other quotes because this one had the front sheet that said 10 grand. The others were at 20. What you should be saying to yourself is, if I've got one at 10 grand and 3 are at 20 to 30 grand and they're all roughly the same, why is that one at 10? That should be the one you throw in and understand what's in the quote. Somebody might quote 42 grand out of that lot and the 42 grand might include everything. Yeah. You know, it might have everything involved and it might save money, but yeah, that obsession with the bottom line figure is where it's going wrong. Site agents inspecting scaffolds is like lunacy, but there's no. Again, we go back, hands up. There's no legislation. There's nothing wrong with it legally. You know, they've done a day's in-house course. Maybe that is enough training. And yet you're telling scaffolders to be advanced is 3-4 years, just to get your ticket, not the knowledge and experience, just to get the ticket, 3-4 years. But to be a scaffold inspector, a day in-house or 2 days with scissors, whatever, you can go and inspect every TG scaffold out there. That's just madness to me, disjointed. I don't get it. The bit where we should put more input in is the people that are saying the job's safe. You know, like first point handovers, we call them in this country, but the first point of inspection, that's got to be bang on. inspectors you're building it. You know, I think like you do. It's a big tower block. Why would I wait till I've erected 20 floors for someone to inspect it when I can go in halfway through?
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe produce, I hate the word snag, but a little snag list. It might be perfect. The next 10 lifts get inspected. You haven't got as much to put right. The scaffold's safe. I don't know. Maybe that's like lunacy. People, let us know. Like email, comment, whatever, and say you're an idiot. You know what I mean? And like, no, the way is to leave it to the end and then not snag it properly or not put it right properly and just keep going. I don't know. I know what I think, but
I say to people, I'm like, look, if I've estimated the job and the job is say 100 grand, 100 grand's worth of scaffold, I always put someone else. Well, I speak to people on the phone. It's not like I'm a robot. It's all, I speak to them on the phone and go through stuff with them. I'm like, look, I'll stick an extra 500 quid on this. Of course, if you want me to come do it, great. But if you don't, that's fine. Put an extra 500 quid on a £100,000 job and get someone to go out and inspect this job properly before you hand it up. It's got to be done anyway, but rather than just look at it and go, it's good. You know, and there's millions of problems with it. There's a number of jobs. The reason why my report is just ridiculous, why it's got so much waffle in it. I mean, I'll be honest, it's got so much in it is because a number of times I've had to go out to a job and the principal contractor, the client, has moaned at the scaffold company or the site manager's moaned and they're not happy with the scaffold. So I've been asked to go out and look at it. The job's been up for a month and I've gone out there and I'm like, what am I meant to do here? You know, job's already been handed over. There's so much wrong with it. And it's just like, why didn't you just add a little bit extra on that job and then make sure it's done properly before you get to the stage where at some point the client's going to be, you know what, we ain't going to fucking pay his invoice this month because he's fucked us up. So we're going to wait on it. And again, that has more knock-on effects down the line, causes more stress, more problems. Yeah. I mean, yes, scaffold inspections, I mean, again, I've said they're important, but that first initial, I call them initial inspections, the handover inspection, it's not a case of just some geezer turning up and going, oh, yeah, that's fine. That's your handover. It's like, no, you need to make sure, and designs, you know, and scaffold designs, the amount of scaffold designs that don't get followed, you know, and I've been on site and the scaffold there's like, oh, this is shit, fuck, you know, it doesn't work.
it's just guidance, mate. It's just guidance.
It's just guidance. It's like, okay, if it doesn't work and you can't get that to work, that's fine. Tell your supervisor, who then has to tell the designer to then come out or take some photos or do something to make sure the calculations for what you've put up then are suitable for the job. So then if the scaffold comes over or something happens, the scaffold company, without professional indemnity insurance, don't get hit with a massive bill, and that's everyone out of a job. You know, it comes down to that's why they have £10 million worth of PI insurance. It's because they're the ones ultimately responsible to make sure that the scaffold calculations are correct. And again, it's another thing that doesn't happen. And then people like me turn up, like yourself turn up, we look at it and go, well, that's not that. And then it puts more pressure on us because we've also got other stuff to do. So then we have to run around with a tape measure and then go right into ins and outs of a cat's arse about what's wrong with it. And again, it's just more pressure and stress and piles on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, you do. I mean, for me, part of it's almost like there's a disease. It's called temporary works, where the design doesn't have to be, because it's scaffolding, followed exactly. A lot of people have got that mindset. But if you were then working to the architect and engineer's drawings for the building, there's building regs and everything, and this has all been approved. This is what you must build. This is, if there's a problem, it gets redesigned or whatever. But this is what you build. These are the measurements. You can't build the building 20% less, 10% more. You can't miss out a wall. You know what I mean? But like in scaffolding, people seem to think, oh, I just missed that out. Or the lacing and bracing on those piggyback beams, it's not really that important. And yet an engineer has calculated the load. Yes, there's a safety factor. Hands up. There you go. Devil's
I've lost you
advocate.
again,
I
mate.
get that, right? And it does do scaffolders' heads in, and maybe people sometimes put too much in. But it's
My
a
internet,
design.
probably.
If I've got a design for a car, I can't miss the brake system out. So why do we treat scaffolding differently?
At ANC Scaffolding Products, we are dedicated to raising the standard in scaffolding solutions across the UK. With decades of industry experience, we supply fully certified scaffolding systems and components, tailored to meet the needs of every project, large or small. We sell scaffolding. We offer the best quality and amazing prices. Trust ANC for expert advice, reliable service, and products that keep you safe and on schedule. As proud NASC members, safety and quality are at the heart of everything we do. Credit available. Look us up on the web or call today.
To the one who knows how. Desire alone is not enough.
What's up, Doc?
He survived the surgery. It's gonna be touch and go.
What's up, Doc?
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
DEFCON 1.
DEFCON 1.
So when you were on the tools, can you give me, like, is there any one or day or week or anything where everything changed for you? Suddenly it all clicked, or you saw something that changed your attitude to scaffolding? Has there ever been that, or has it always just been the same?
I don't know. I mean, getting used to using a drill when they first come out was a bit weird. But even now, I mean, obviously I don't use my tools anymore. I've still got my tools. Yeah, they're like a family heirloom now. But the weight distribution of getting used to having your gun on your belt is a little bit uncomfortable. It's too heavy. Yeah, I suppose that was it. Obviously, I've worked in different, I call them disciplines. I've worked in various different disciplines. So offshore was a big eye opener. Yeah, that was different. Sitting on that helicopter for the first time. You know, I've never been on a helicopter. I've been on planes, but I've never been on a helicopter before. And you feel it, it's like, oh, your belly goes up. Oh, what's that? You can just feel it. It's sort of, because they're not like, you think a helicopter's like super fast, like Airwolf or an attack helicopter's like, whoa. No, they're buses. They're basically coaches with a big propeller on top. Yeah, so they're big, heavy things. So they sort of hover and then obviously they go off. I nearly bit my tongue off once. That wasn't great. They fit you on these helicopters when you're going offshore like sardines. So yes, I'm a little bit podgy. You know, I'm quite stocky, but I'm a bit podgy as well. And most people offshore, there's a big, I wouldn't say obesity problem, but a lot of people offshore are kind of overweight, which means it's you've got free food, free cakes, and you have things called in-betweenies, which is a break in between your breaks. And there's always rolls and sausage rolls and shit coming out for you to eat, and endless coffee and shit. So So they pack you on like sardines. So this one time I'm sitting there, I had my back. So with the helicopters, are they Super Pumas? I've got S92 in my head, which I'm not sure if they're the old ones or the new ones. But essentially, you've always got two pilots, and they'd always have the little door open there, and you'd see them. And if you got your face in them, they've got millions of dials in front of them. And you see one of them, he'd be eating a sandwich while the other one's flying and that. I think that's a safety thing, obviously, while you've got on a plane, a pilot, co-pilot, just in case the pilot has a heart attack, you can still get the plane on the ground, so on and so forth. It must have hit an air pocket or something, so I had me back, and I had a fella sitting all squashed like that, and reading my book. You know, you're in your survival suits, you have to, they're like big zip up, like rubber suits basically, and you have to like pop the thing, go right down and suck it in, and it sort of sucks into you. Otherwise, you're like a big balloon walking around. Yes, the helicopter must have hit an air pocket or something like that, and it's dropped. And to think about, like, say you think a plane's coming down, they can sort of glide, I suppose. A helicopter is like a brick. You go, and then it's like that. There is no gliding a helicopter down. So it dropped, I don't know, 100 foot, couple of 100 foot. We were about 1,000 feet in the air, up in the clouds. But it was so violent, so quick. I'm sitting there like reading a book, I was reading a newspaper, and so I was like, fucking, what was that? And it must have dropped X amount. And then I sort of looked round as much as I could. You could see all the lights flashing, and they were sort of doing something in the cockpit. The bloke sitting opposite me, he was white. He was like a sheet of paper white. So whatever must have happened in there, he obviously saw it directly. And that wasn't fun. But yeah, working offshore was quite a bit of a shock. Yes, even though I was, like I said previously, I was very consistent in what I did. Got some strange ways out there. Yeah, not particularly sure I liked it. Maybe not the tools anyway. Different when I started doing inspections out there. I was sort of classed as management, so a bit more money. I had what's called ham, which essentially you get 12 hours a day. Ham is an extra couple of hours. So I got that. So there's a bit more money. You obviously have other advantages. If it was really bad weather one day, you know, I was kind of in the dry for a lot of it. But working out on the tools there is kind of strange. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird culture. I try and drum it into my son. He's a bit, I wouldn't say scruffy, but he is a little bit. And it's like, it's not like that. It's like being in the army. It's like if they say 2 or 3 of you to a room on one of the rigs, I think it was the Montrose, there was 3. So there was 2 of us on days, 1 on nights. And then we had to share a bathroom with another 3. And literally, I was told straight away, if you leave mess in the bathroom, I don't know, say you don't pick your toothpaste tube up, or you spit toothpaste in the sink, you don't wash it out, that's almost like fighting talk, if you know what I mean. That's like, there's a big problem. Because it's like, other people are like, why am I cleaning up your shit, you know? Come here, you scruffy bastard, you know, and come and clean your stuff up. So that was kind of different. But no, nothing that's really made me like sort of like stand back and anything. And I've got some stories, you know, maybe for another time. I've seen people shagging. There's no doubt other people have. Seen people getting chased by the police, you know, jumping over fences, joyriding, all that sort of stuff. Obviously, as you're working, you see all kinds of shit.
Yeah, you see life from a different, I know it sounds mad, but it is from a different viewpoint because we're up. And we're not looking through net curtains and stuff like that. You do see things. You do like, wow, look at that. You know, like the London bombings. I remember when they happened, and I was in London, and like suddenly, like you're on the scat, it's chaos. You're thinking, like, what's going on here? Where are all these blue lights coming from? Why are the buses like suddenly stopped and that? Because the buses, some of them just stopped. You know what I mean? It was pure panic. It was a movie scene, but I'm looking at that movie in real time, but I'm looking down. You know, we were right near a tube station, and the tube station was just pouring people out, and you're like, and then you're thinking, oh, how do I get home? Oh my God, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. You know, I've had a moment as well where, like, well, the missus and I were different. I wasn't scaffolding, but like similar when there was the attacks on the bridge in London. We were within half mile of that, and that was good. But watching it from a scaffold, definitely, I was like, wow. You know, I mean, I've had some real luxuries, like working in Canary Wharf, places like that. It's mad, the view. The view across London is mental. You know, like going across the top of skyscrapers in a crane is just like a massive buzz, you know.
Yeah.
At the same time, I think one of my revelations was Layer. Publicly, I'll admit it, I like Layer. Quick stage, cup lock. Shit. Absolutely terrible. Like, no. I don't get it. You can't do anything in system. And then started seeing Layer, and it just clicked. It was like, wow. You know, like, and even from the difference between Layer and the Type 1 copy staircases that everybody, how heavy they were, and it was like, wow, I can actually carry these stairs without killing me. Yes, there's still a struggle, but I wasn't killing myself. And then it came to, we were on a project, and we came to striking after we'd written, and we were like, oh my God, this is genius. We're flying here. So that's why, I mean, like everyone, I'm a system head. Like I'm pro system. I still have 30% in a firm tube and fitting. I think that was a game changer for me, because especially I hated the idea of quick state, etc. It was just like, no, I don't get it. It's terrible. It's, you know, so that changed me. But yeah, viewing London that day was mad. You know, I mean, on the flip of that, I was in a well hole in working away when the Twin Towers came down, and I carried on. I didn't know it was happening. We didn't have the mobile phones like we had mobile phones. We didn't know. Well, we took the whole job down just in this well hole, carried on, cleared it all, got back to the yard, and everyone was in the pub, and it was like about 5 o'clock, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, what do you think?" What do you mean? What do I think? I'm like, "Yeah, I'm hot, I'm sweaty, I've worked all day." I didn't have any comprehension of that. I'd have carried on working. Didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's scaffolding for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
I was
you can miss things, or you can see things from a different view.
Yeah. We got evacuated on 9/11. I was only labouring. I was working for Trad. I was on there for a couple of years before I moved on. Was in the Royal Naval College in Greenwich. We was putting a scaffold. I was only labouring. I was only passing balls and that up, but they were putting the scaffold up in like some big staircase. They had a load of work going on there. They did have big temporary roofs going over the top of it. I worked with a scaffolder called Dave Scaffold. He was a monster. He was nice, lovely fella. Like, he told us his story once. He was walking his dog. He was from Barking, and I'm a Dagenham boy, so just up the road. And his dad was Peter Scaffold, was a legend on trad. And he was telling us his stories that. Well, anyway, yes, he was over the park, and his dog got into an altercation with another dog, and the bloke who had the other dog was giving it the big one. And then obviously, as Dave got bigger, got closer and closer, he got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So the bloke was looking up at him like that. And he could put 16-foot imps on one-handed. That's a powerful bloke. Yeah, I was in when the London bombings went off. I was in Old Street. We had to walk from Old Street all the way to West Ham. I got picked up. And just see everyone just walking, just all down the roads.
Yeah, mad.
Yeah, but we'd have to do another one of these and go through the old stories. Take
yeah. I mean, we're going to finish there, I think. But just one question: What scaffold innovation in the future do you can you see coming, or do you want coming, or you wish for? What would, like, you've got a magic wand now? What can you, one thing you can change globally, UK, I don't know, Dagenham, I don't care, in scaffolding today, what would it be and why?
I think potentially if someone can invent it, you might want to stop this one because we might want to work on something together. If someone can invent it, I think we might have even spoke about it previously, is a Hilti or DeWalt or whatever battery operated winch that's super lightweight that you can almost put in a backpack or something.
I've asked Gita.
Unless they've already invented it.
I've emailed Gita. Gita, if you're listening, I've emailed you about this. Yeah, I'm totally with you. I agree with it. To me, it's just common sense. It would change the game. I was at Alimac last week, seeing them with their hoist, etc. I said to them about it. I've mentioned it to so many people. It's out there. I'm quite happy to keep saying it. get it, we'll test it, we'll throw it. Mate, I'd half want to deliver it for free to people just to change the game. I get that totally. Yeah, I'm with that 100%. It would be a game changer. Yeah.
So it'd be fast, it'd be efficient.
There we go. Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, thank you very much for coming. Thank you for chatting. We'll do this again anyway. Yeah, that's the end. See you later.
The time sponsored by Accurist will be
Power flows to the one who knows how.